What's up, guys? Welcome to another night of spoilers. Some more cool cards we have on to check out for Force of Will. And if you guys are excited with what you're seeing tonight, make sure to visit Happy Little Hug Factory. Link in the description below, where you can pick up the next set for pre-order. I believe they're down to 32 left, if I remember correctly from my last checked. And the buy a box promo, which was Satan, and the buy two box, which was Kaguya. Can't tell if the Kaguya is exclusive to that or not. We'll find out eventually. So just keep that in mind when you go pre-order.
Yep.
All right, and we're going to get started. So heads up, tonight we have two that are water, two that are wind. The wind ones were never released in English. We're going to give you the translations that we received when we get to those, and we'll save those for last. But if you guys want to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I know there's the spoilers in English and other countries and stuff like that. It's just like a hodgepodge of who's releasing when and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Bergamir, Giant of Eternal Ice. It's a 7 cost, 11/16 giant with barrier against things that cost 4 or less. Enter. You may rest target J/Resonator. It doesn't recover during its controller's next recovery phase. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put any number of them into the graveyard. Put the rest on top of your deck in any order. Draw a card. Or you can pay 3 and discard this card, and then it does that effect I just said. Basically inheritance, but for some reason they didn't put the inheritance ability on here.
Yeah.
Which Oscar and I were discussing, like, what not using the inheritance wording might bring up, or I think it might bring up some problems, because inheritance specifically was defined to be able to not be canceled by Lorite, right, Oscar?
Wait, hold on. Why is it an inheritance ability?
It's structured the way inheritance was structured, but it's not giving the inheritance to it. That's what the cons are like talking.
You're right, because it has to be discarded. Because discard has to be from your hand.
Yeah,
right.
But what were you saying about inheritance that can or can't work on it?
No, my point was with the way it is, a Keys' call or an Aaron Dyke can't stop it right now. And it can't stop inheritance that way either. I don't remember what you were talking about with the Lorite thing. I don't remember discussing.
I had specifically said that they won't be able to regular cancel this, but they couldn't Lorite it. But post rotation they wouldn't be able to Lorite it, and you countered with something. Point is, we have a defined rule set with inheritance, and this is not inheritance, so that might cause some confusion among stuff. Because there's no reason this shouldn't just say inheritance 3, and then have the ability. But yeah. We'll see. But the ability itself, like, I don't think you'll ever really actually play the actual card itself, except for maybe late game when you got enough stones and might as well type of deal. But for 3 costs to rest something for an entire recovery phase, scry 4 kind of, except some of them go in the graveyard if you want them to. And they don't have to go in the graveyard. You look at the top 4 and you can put them all back on top of your deck, or put some of them in graveyard, which could work for some cards that you want to put in your graveyard to set up or different things like that. And then you draw a card. I think that's a decent amount of things for 3 costs.
It's a bunch of really awesome setup. Like, this sets up Mystery Box, and it sets up Odin's or Loki's Judgment, the something of God, which is, look at the top 6 cards. Top 7, I think it's top 7. Anyways, I think this guy's actually pretty awesome. Like, just playing him, he really only has the barrier though, but I mean, I think it's still pretty useful.
Yeah.
I think you're right that you'll probably just cast
something that beyond the card that we kind of discovered was I was going through the database and looking at old cards from Valhalla, the original Valhalla, and this is actually just a card from back then, just restructured to work kind of more modern, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, it has the old one basically had the barrier, right, for total cost 4 or less.
Essentially, it wasn't called barrier, but it had a protection from anything from 4 costs or less.
And it had some other stuff similar, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, to comment on it, the protection from 4 costs or less was for every giant that existed back then.
Okay. The flavor is plunged into darkness, the water begins to stagnate. Perfect Loki. Alright. Joey?
Yeah, I was thinking of reading that thread for Inheritance.
I already read it. It just goes back and forth.
Arthur, Night King of the Final Act. Oh, he looks awesome. 2 cost, 0 attack, 0 defense. Resonator Machine. Barrier, cards that share a name with counters on this card.
Keep reading.
Yeah.
Okay. As this card, yeah, you guys have already read this all. As this card enters the field, choose a card name. This card enters the field with a counter of the chosen name and 6 +100/+100 counters on it. As long as your J ruler is Arthur or Arthur King machines, this card gains at the beginning of your main phase. Put X +1/+1 counters on this card, where X is 6 minus number of +1/+1 counters on it. Remove 5 +1/+1 counters from this card. Draw a card.
So, on this, something that confused me initially on the first reading was the fact that it says to put the name counter down, because I get confused with an actual physical like counter that's gonna, not necessarily the buff, but does something with it. So it's just so you choose a name essentially, right? And then it has protection against cards with that name. Now the obvious like one I thought of immediately in conflict, no, that doesn't target it, was Lorite, but no, Lorite doesn't target the resonator, it targets the ability. But that's kind of how that works. So
yeah, so it's the barrier part. I hate that mechanic they use, because machines use so many counters. It's going to be hard to like put a counter on there that shares the name. So I think you're not going to use counters. People would it'll be like with the God's Art of the other card, where people just colloquially know, oh, I said Severin wins back then. Okay, we know Severin wins and stuff like that, and we don't need a counter. I think that's super weird, but I like that. At least it's some type of berry. He's only a 2 cost, and he's a machine. 2 cost 6/6 with counters on it, so that's kind of cool. But the coolest thing is that that draw card ability, because you just in response to the beginning of your main phase, you remove 5 counters, draw a card, and then go tick back up to 6. And you just keep doing that over and over again. You can put counters on him, like if you put a Donut Drone out, banish it, he's up to 10 counters. You can now draw 2 cards. There's things you can do, and machines did need something like that, some sort of draw mechanic to keep that consistency of flooding the field and stuff like that. And this could be what would really help machines, I think.
I have a question. If he goes to 0 defense, he dies, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't like remove a counter, Donut Drone, and then remove the 5 counters.
Nah, but I mean, luckily on his own, he just maintains that 1/1.
Yeah.
As long as he can.
Yeah.
Cool part is, like I was telling Collins, like you with this card, like you go against a deck, you kind of know what the removal or burn is that could target this, and you can just name it off the bat. You know, like go against a Brunhild, you could just name one of the blades or something like that. You know.
Yeah, the blade is a good one. And also, Joe, in response to your thing, if you run the field card for machines, you can use all his counters without worrying about him dying, because all your machines are buffed +1/+1.
Oh no, it does that.
What? Anyways, but also the thing I wanted to point out, this card is literally, and this is what I thought they were going to do the whole time. This is what they should have been doing this entire freaking cluster, is making cards that do stuff, and then it's like, hey, if your ruler is this, also it does this. Like, look at this. Cool. This is a card, unlike other cards, where you're like, oh, this is cool. Let me just throw this in Loki instead. This is a card where you're like, okay, I guess I'll run Arthur in order to get this effect. Yeah, why weren't majority of the cards like this? Not majority, but a decent amount of the cards. We've gotten, outside of the Master Runes, we've gotten like one other card or something like that actually referenced the ruler. This is actually an incentive to run Arthur. There should have been way more cards like this.
This is what like those decks like core cards should have been. They should have had like a set of cards that do this.
Yeah. I really like this card.
All it took was we had to get EG and Jeff out, make sure we got Kim in charge, and we're getting these changes finally.
Yep.
Finally.
Yeah, let's go to the next cards, Oscar.
Sorry, I was like, I have to do it. All right, so the next cards are the ones that are in all these various languages. We already know what they all do. His name is Kate Sith. It's a 2 cost, green and a void, 6/6, cat/fairy. It has an enter ability that says when it enters the field, you'll put a 100/100 wind cat token into play. And it has an activate ability of 2 green to do the same thing. So once it's in play, it gets a token, and you can pay 2 green to do it again and again and again, as much as you have will for it.
Huh. I hate it.
We'll see.
You hate it for now.
You hate it for now.
Let's go to the next card.
I got the next one.
Okay. You guys
yeah, I remember this card, Oscar.
Okay, go ahead.
This card is a 1 cost quick cast.
What's the name of it?
The name is Bastet, créateur de chat. I don't know.
I think it's creator of cats, maybe.
Creator of cats, stupid. 1 cost, quick cast, 4/4 cat. It has quick cast, obviously. Enter. Basically, bounce target non-J ruler, non-magic stone entity that you control to your hand. We're not. I don't think we're 100%. That's that you control, or is that your opponent?
It is because this is a Spanish version.
Okay,
this is not the Spanish version. There was a Spanish version that actually has the word on it.
Is it? No, this is Spanish. Pierre, that's Spanish.
This was Italian.
Oh, it's Italian. Oh no, yeah, that's
Colin showing.
Bounce to your hand. Other cat J/resonators you control gain +2 or no, just cat J resonators you control gain +2/+2. I think that's the one we're not sure of. Is it for sure? I like how Oscar was super unsure. Never no. Oscar showed me like 8 different things. Just like, oh, it might be this, and then we come in here, it's like, oh no, it's for sure this. I never mentioned it to you, but
I didn't see the Spanish one until later in it. That ultros means others.
Okay, I must have missed the message you sent to me. Okay.
Also, Ostris probably means others also.
Banish a magic stone. Target J/resonator gains barrier until end of turn.
Well, that sucks. But
so no, that doesn't suck.
Quick rundown of it because that was a train wreck.
I'm saying that doesn't. I like how Oscar messes everything up, and then it's like, oh wow, Colin got all this information from me, and he relayed it exactly how I related to him.
Did not relay it proper at all. Anyways, 1 cost for.
I related exactly how I was putting in all the caveats that we were aware of.
Just stop talking already, okay? 1 cost.
So angry, oh my god.
4/4 quick cast that enters, bounces something you control. It's not a stone or J ruler. Buffs all other cats, and that includes J rulers. The +2/+2, which is really good. And then Colin got the last part correct. It's just that it has the barrier when you banish a magic stone.
Wow, it's almost like exactly what I said. All right, so. So basically, in response to Joey's thing, Joey's like, oh, the barrier thing isn't that good. One, it's still good regardless of anything else because that's just a good thing to have in your back pocket. Because we saw that with Spirit Magic Stone, people are willing to banish stones for a good effect. If given something that's really strong barrier, especially it targets your J ruler, giving your J ruler barrier is really good. But we also have the rune that puts 2 stones back into your deck, and you draw a card, and it puts them into the field unrested.
Banned, isn't it?
Nope.
Spirit
stones were banned, but not this card. This card is untouched.
So you can get up to 2 instances of barrier and get the stones back without worry at any point during the game. So that's why I say that ability is still good inside of green, and even outside of that card, I still think it's a halfway decent thing just to have in your back pocket in an emergency. The enter bounce is a really good combat trick because she's quick cast. So if someone swings into one of your resonators to kill it and you don't want it to die, bounce it back into your hand. Especially if you're going against a Brunhild deck that has drain and different things like that. It's a good way to bounce stuff back into your hand. Or if you want to relay another enter effect, different things like that. I think the bouncing could prove very good. And if you don't have anything good to bounce, then you have that other card, which is generating cat tokens. And you just bounce one of those if you don't want to bounce something good. This also now buffs those tokens. So now that's, Joey, that card that you say you didn't like is creating 3/3 cat tokens all day, every day. It's buffing Hanzo. Oh, it's assuming you only have one of these. If you have like 3 of these in the field, then all of a sudden you're creating 7/7 tokens. It's buffing Hanzo.
First of all, hold on. Okay, so it's only while this is on the field.
Correct.
Correct. That's true. Let's get that. Okay, I was confused about that part.
That's usually the way cards work.
Well, yeah, I thought first of all,
that's not giving counters. Yeah. It's just a cloud effect, and it's a continuous. It's not just a one-time enter ability. It's they always have it. Yeah. So. I think this is super strong. I think this
is not that good and kind of sucks. But
give me one situation where this would not be good.
Okay, I shouldn't say it's not good. It's pretty cool. It's just it's completely beneath the power level of everything else that we've been seeing. That's how I should phrase this. Like, this is not going to win you games. +2/+2 on your cats is not going to win you games, and really like this isn't a game-winning super rare. It's not like winning you. It's
What's-
not going to beat.
What's a
Like-
threat that you're worried about?
Like everything, like how does this stack up against the whole like the obvious like Layla like alter decks? Like she just gives stuff a slightly better attack and bounces stuff, which is cool, but it's just this, she's not doing anything that really buffing tokens is not a good game plan.
No, you're not buffing tokens. So Oscar and I were looking. Yeah, sorry about the screaming kids. Oscar and I were looking, and there's a lot of good stuff that can target this. You have a 1/1 cat that's or 1-cost cat that's a 4/3 with first strike. Suddenly, with just one of these on the field, that's a 6/5 1-drop with first strike. There's the 1-cost cat that's a 3/3 and gains 4/4 if you have 4 or more magic stones. So that's a 7/7, and now this makes it a 9/9, and so on and so forth. Because you'd probably be able to play more of these on the field. Your Hanzo's is already a 10/10. He's now 12/12, 14/14, etc., etc. In addition to be able to passively give stuff berry to help counter stuff like the altar deck that has targeting abilities. And in addition, you're able to bounce stuff, which helps counter destruction effects, or swinging into one of your resonators for, like, if they swing in with Abarazuki and remove stuff for drain and swing into one of your resonators or something like that. If they decide not to swing into you for some reason, that bouncing is a good way to counter that. But the thing I was thinking of was, what you do is you build a count deck around those low cost 1-cost, 2-cost cats, and you run a very fast paced field flooding deck that you're able to early buff all of these low cost cats into craziness, be able to bounce them, give stuff barrier, etc., by flashing these in. And when they try and destroy one of these to get rid of the buff, you flash another one in to bounce it back into your hand, and then just play that one into the field. Stuff like that. I think this combined with the other card, and combined with, I assume, at least 2 or 3 more cat-based cards that we'll see spoiled because we haven't seen the rune yet as well, I think will make this card specifically like bonkers strong. This is a lot of stuff happening for 1-cost quick cast.
Right, but I don't value a lot of that stuff that it's doing. Like, I just don't feel like the stuff that it does is valuable enough to justify running an entire cat deck when cats are gonna get, like, I just feel like cats are gonna get blown out by all the removal, the way bigger resonators. Like, having
You're running green
a
then.
lot of 6/6s is not gonna do anything versus like actual.
What removal can they do
actual
when you're
spots.
running green with Lorite and stuff like that, like, and cancels in the new 2-cost cancel body and stuff like that? Like, what can other decks possibly
So
do against Hanzo with his free cost
They
cancel?
come to their turn, they could tap to -4 your field, recover, tap to -4 your field. Are you responding to both of those?
Well, yeah, 100%. Because you, once again, well, one, I don't know how often that ability goes off, because it depends. You'd have to go for a full turn with it. It's literally would be the only first time that you play the card that ability goes off. But green does have answers to that, especially in cats, or not cats, but in Hanzo. It has field damage. It has targeting, especially if splashing yellow. You have access, if you're doing field flooding, you have access to volley now, which would do a shiz ton of damage. If you're generating cat tokens in addition to running 1 cost, that's able to kill that before at end of turn, because it only costs 1 will before you are able to tap that resonator. Stuff like that. I think having, because you're not going to go pure green. I think you're going to go green, yellow, and green now in order just purely for that cancel card is probably the best strategy. So with that, if you run a field flooding deck with 1 cost and tokens, then volley and stuff like that is the way to go to just destroy those giant cost resonators, because nothing in darkness that I can think of off the top of my head has barrier passively. There might be one that I'm forgetting, but
Yeah,
so
I see both sides of the argument here. Like, yeah, this could be really strong, but then no, it couldn't be. Like, a lot of those altar decks, they'll be going off turn 1, 2, and 3, while this looks like it needs to go off a few turns after that. So that's where I see the offset of the this isn't that great. But then I also get where Colin's getting at, where if it gets to where it needs to be, then that could be a thing that's hard to stop.
Yeah, I guess I just don't value, like, a bunch of little like 3-cost cats they're 3/3 cats. Like rapid
Assuming
fire
you only
being-
get one on the field. This is
Yeah.
assuming you ever in the entire game only have one of these on the field.
I guess it's nice that she buffs her other selves, you know.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
liked
have
it.
Bastet and they have another Bastet.
I mean, the reason why I like this card, and I got pretty excited when I saw it, was it's a 1-cost, it's a 4/4, it's quick cast, and it buffed the +2/+2. Like we had a video, and there was cats in the deck I had before that. And like these things that came in were easily burned for like 8 or 6 or 7 or whatever it was. So like they'll live now, hopefully, with something like this in the field. So that's where I was really excited. And then it seemed the +2 stack and then the rune come into play with the Banish and Magic Stone ability. It all kind of starts to build up. But again, I just feel like an Alter deck's going to get off faster than this card's going to be able to get to.
It'll come online faster, but I think this would have the longevity over that. All it has to do is stave off the early game, which I think green can easily do with yellow splashed into it. Is not too big of a task.
We'll have to see if it can.
I mean,
it holds up and where it ends up once the set releases. I think it's where obviously we'll find out.
You're also facing off against Ruined Earth, which is like an entire -4/-4 field wipe.
Not a lot of people
That
run
doesn't
Ruined Earth I that I've seen.
The dedicated black decks would do it, but anything that's doing other colors or other like objectives.
They're especially going to start
the-
running it once
yeah.
once you run an entire
Gives it more
deck
reason.
full of cats, where you try and go wide with them.
Yeah,
Like,
but
you-
they run Ruined Earth, and in response, you play another one of these, and now they're buffed out of range because
You
they're
can
buffing each
cancel.
other.
Yeah, I'm just.
Well,
but this-
if you're playing, you just said a mono
this is-
black deck.
This just goes to the thing where it's like, well, I can do this, well, I can do that, well, I can do this, well, I can do that. Because like, oh, cool, you did that. Well, I have another thing that can minus your field further. So it's like, it just goes back and forth at that point.
My main point at the end of the day was that I feel like this is a lot for a 1-cost. To give it quick cast, to give it a field cloud buff, to give it barrier potentially, and to give it a bounce combat trick, and it's still
There's just-
4/4 and a cat at the end of the day. I think it's a lot.
I think there is a lot within the first 2 abilities. I just feel like that last one may not be activated as often as we're thinking it's going to be activated.
I don't think it's going to be activated often, but I think that's
Yeah.
something that's going to be activated enough that people forget about it, then it's used, and that'll be things that turn around games.
It's just. I don't think the cats are good, so playing this in a cat deck is not going to be good. And then I don't think its first ability is like good enough to justify. Like its first ability could be good enough to justify save, but all it does is it saves your own guys, and then you have to play them again. Which, to be fair, I think there's a lot of. Really
That's literally what we
interesting-
did with Apollo. Joey, all you did was run Apollo to do that.
Apollo is
That's
free.
all you did.
Apollo is free.
Yeah,
This
I
is
was gonna-
one, and it gives you a body. And clear. If Apollo was like pay 1 more and your stuff is buffed for 200 and you get a 4/4 body on the field, you'd be like, oh yeah, whenever I can, I'm going to pay that one.
Yeah, I think in a dual color environment, this might have more benefit outside of the cat deck.
That the other thing, well, no, I think cat deck is going to become a thing, but I think that, and I mentioned this to Oscar with the Odin Destruction of Stones and this of Banishing Stones, makes me think that there's going to be something in the set, whether it be the stones or some card that protects stones or brings stones back into the field. This is 2 different stone getting rid of and putting into the graveyard abilities we've seen, and we've only seen like 10 cards. Well, we've seen more than that, but like I think there's going to be something that works with stones to bring them back out as well, or something along those lines.
I don't know. I
Or
think
even
it'll be
just
interesting.
a
I just-
special magic stones where it bounces out that way. Like we've seen things that destroyed magic stones in the past to help balance the dual stones, you know?
There's a I would like to point out, and I knew this was a card. There's a Cat Ninja Scout. It's a 3/3 that brings in a 1/1 cat. So for a 1. So it's just I'd rather play that over Kate's too. But so like it's just I still just don't feel like cats are gonna be worth it. Like I don't think they do enough.
I think I'm just gonna say I disagree. I think just this alone is going to be what turns cats around, and not only makes them relevant, but could make them potentially really strong. And we haven't even seen the rest of the cat support yet, because there will be some.
There's already a bunch of cat support.
No, I mean in this set. This set we've seen 2 green cards. There's going to be probably at least 10 cards. Half of those we can assume are cats. So we can assume at least 3 more Hanzo-based support items. And these are only 2 of them.
Yeah, well, we'll see. 50
And they're all
cards,
SRs on rares.
50 new cards to see. We're 8 in. So I'm sure in a few weeks we'll have all the cards at some point. And then maybe the plugins will update. You guys can put y'all's arguments to the test and build some decks. And we'll see how that goes. But until then, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you agree with Colin or Joey or where you stand on that. And we'll see y'all next time.
Yep.